I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
You're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast and something very, very funky.
Roy Hargrove Quintet live at New Morning, Paris. Strasbourg, Saint-Denis. So today we're going to delve in, do a little bit of a just solo and just soloist, more like a musician analysis, I guess we could call it, right?
It's solo analysis Wednesday, but we always tend to do, because we're so thinking of the big picture at all times. We always tend to go the full-bodied analysis. So
that's right.
That's what we'll do today. So yeah, if you don't know this song, Get Out From Under the Rock.
That's right. Get online, go to youtube.com. Well, and we were talking about, we wanted to do several tributes to Roy Hargrove, who's untimely lost to the global jazz community, really just the music community, the humanity. We lost this great individual, great trumpeter, great musician, great man, all too soon. But we wanted to do several tributes, and kind of both of us have been delving into his music. A lot of artists have been. For me, I've always listened to Roy's music for years. He's just one of those artists that I love his music. I played with him some and love being around his music, but I just love it as a fan,
Me too, man.
Yeah.
Always going back to it.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's like you take for granted that it's like he's always going to be making music or touring or something. And
right.
It's like, and
he was so prolific, recording wise, playing live, playing a jam session. So it's like now it's such a precious thing, every note that he played, because there won't be more of his notes. There's more inspired by him, and I think we're really seeing how he's inspired a whole generation. We always think of the younger players for sure, but he inspired the current generation.
Absolutely.
And even some older musicians.
Absolutely.
You look at what Sonny Rollins has come out and said about Roy and stuff. Truly an innovator and an inspiration. So we were talking about different recordings, and there's so many great things that we could do, but I thought it would be fun to jump on this, which is his most popular video. It's like 3 million views or whatever, of kind of one of his hit songs, and it was always great to see Roy. He was really in his element when he was playing live. Yeah. So that was a fun thing. But this is from the New Morning Jazz Club, which is a fantastic jazz club in Paris. And I know Roy played there many, many, many times over the years, and loved Paris, and Paris loved Roy. So we thought this would be a fun one to jump in on.
Yeah, this is such a great track. Like you said, over 3 million views on YouTube. Definitely a hit, a jazz hit, if there ever was one.
And let's be clear. Look, we're not like hit followers here, in that we only look. If this had 300 views, it would still be great. And we delve into a lot of things that don't necessarily have a lot of views. But this is fun when you get the occasional kind of jazz hit, and it is great music too. We kind of like to highlight that as well.
It's the best of both worlds.
That's right.
And this particular live performance, the band is just killing it.
They are.
So yeah, let's dive in, man.
Cool. So to me, like I'm going to jump all the way back, if it's okay, to his intro.
Strasbourg, Saint-Denis.
Because I love,
it's a fun place.
I just love like Roy's. It's so much a part of his music, like his humor and his intelligence and stuff. But there you get a kind of. This video is great too, because you get a feel for the club, and the audience, and look at that, the interaction with the audience there behind. That's Gerald Clayton at the piano, a young Gerald Clayton.
Yep. Killing this one too.
Yep.
Great intro.
And then check out Roy here. I know he's not playing, but he's telling you everything. He's there already in terms of the groove, and when he comes in, like his interaction with the audience there, acknowledgement. Justin Robinson. And then, I don't want to micromanage this analysis.
No, this is what we're here for, man.
But check this out, man. I'm talking about all this stuff about Roy before he even plays. But check out, now for trumpet players, horn players, anyone that has a mobile instrument, we can't really do this on piano or drums or bass, but check out just physically how he approaches starting to play the melody now. Check him out.
Confidently.
Yeah. And then he's he's doing it right.
Yeah, his body language tells you everything about what's going to happen.
And then, the way Justin and Roy phrase this, together, man. Perfect. Harmony. Montez Coleman's East St. Louis finest right there. I mean, just grooving.
Damn right. You know what I like about Roy's bands always is they're not all Roy clones. You know what I mean? Like, Justin has a totally different vibe than Roy Hargrove. Gerald has a different vibe. Tez has his own like St. Louis-y vibe. I mean, it's so happening, you know?
No, Roy gave a lot of freedom. And like the way they're playing this great little thing for horn players, like the rhythm section is grooving, pushing hard. Like they are locked in with the horns, like kind of impenetrable in terms of how they're playing.
You know who's on bass on this video?
I don't know. I'm ashamed to say I don't know who that is.
I don't recognize
and I don't recognize him. Yeah, I don't know.
Either.
I don't know what's happening. But then this tune, like we were just joking about before, it's kind of a vamp, like the whole tune.
Yeah.
But it's sort of that pentatonic. Is that a pentatonic scale? I think it sort of sounds like little.
Yeah. Most of it is.
Yeah. And then that's going to definitely be in there in the solo. Maybe we should, because that's pretty much the whole.
No. We got to hear the falls.
Oh right.
Oh.
Uh-oh. What? Tez looks a little angry with the hi-hat there. I like that, man. A little aggression.
Dogmatic with the hi-hat.
Microaggression.
Don't you love the way this solo starts?
Oh, it's
I
great.
love the muted piano thing on this.
And this from the original recorded version, he does that as well. And I love how like this is kind of a version of the studio version, but like a live version. You know, everything is kind of extended, but it really honors that original version. I'm trying to think, like, if you put a gun to Tez's head right at this moment, could you get him to stop grooving?
No.
I don't think so. All right, this is great, but we're doing a Roy Hargrove solo analysis, so I got to skip ahead. I feel horrible doing that.
Check out Gerald Clayton's solo on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome.
It's great. The way he builds it up, the whole thing. We'll come back and do a Gerald Clayton time. Okay, so actually, let me take it back just a little bit. So he really builds up, it's open, tempo locked in. Check out how Roy comes in. 2, 3, 4. So he comes in before the chorus starts.
Yeah.
And normally that's a little bit of a faux pas, especially the way that Clayton is soloing, the way that the piano solo builds up, like what you would expect to happen is kind of let that build and kind of go over and then wait, let the applause and then come in. But it's a really skillful thing that Roy does there by coming in, because he plays that little phrase kind of real rhythmically in there, but somehow magically it still allows the solo to end, the applause to kind of happen, and it's almost like a continuous thing setting up his solo then.
A lot of listening going on in these few seconds here, because you could see that Gerald, he doesn't pull it back, but he goes to chords. He doesn't do a big line to end it like you might. And Montez, who I know is fond of between solos kind of playing through, which is usually very, very hip. To Tez's credit here, he hears what Roy's about to do. He shuts it down.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it kind of, Roy then sets the tone.
And this is not playing. Like if you go check out different live versions, and we heard him do this a lot, there was all different ways they'd come in and out of this. So that's an exciting thing, especially like if you see a band like this several times, and then like, you don't know how it's going to happen. There's different ways to set up the architecture.
Absolutely.
But listen, number one, is what we say.
Yeah.
Like, this is a great example of that. And, and be careful, though. Like, if you want to emulate this, this is not for the faint of heart to come in like that, because you can come in like you're cutting them off if you don't do it. The way he does is perfect, though.
No, this is grown person listening right here.
I'll take it back. Grown person. I like that. He almost finishes his phrase like a little counter melody, and it's his first phrase. This is so thematic and just like pretty trumpets. Man, so the confidence with which he played, now this interaction that gets like leaving the space and stuff can be very tricky, because it's so exposed both on the piano side and then the solo, the trumpet side. And I think they just do a great job of this like back and forth in a very kind of starting out almost symmetrical way.
Yeah.
But they're not afraid to stay right. I mean, harmonically they're staying right in that kind of pentatonic sound there.
Yeah.
And then when they do make alterations, just little things, but rhythmically it's right in there, very riff based.
This is a couple of people who've played together quite a bit during this time. You can tell.
Yeah.
They were able to anticipate.
Yeah. And I mean, Roy was the kind of musician that, in terms of comping behind him, like, really listening and staying on your toes, and you sort of playing your best as a piano accompanist could really be rewarded, because he would play, like, he was always listening and leaving space when it needed to be played. If he came in on top, you could keep doing what you're doing and he was going to fit. Like, his ears were so big, like he could really make you better as an accompanist.
That sounds fun. Can we back it up about 5 seconds? Because I want to make a point of this phrase he plays.
It's before this?
Right here. Okay, so that's a hip hop quote right there. That's "Don't push us, 'cause we're close."
Yep. And then he brings it down. Bronx style.
That's the beat from that song, and like, that's what we were kind of talking about when we did our tribute episode. Roy's his ability. Right before that, he does like a fairly classic like bebop, going to the sharp 11 on the dominant chord, and then he comes in with a dun 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 dun. Like a soul hip hop quote right there.
Yeah, and just seamless. It never feels like it's going left and right and juxtaposed in the wrong way. Totally organic. That's what is that called? And so he's doing some stuff. Look, I'm not a trumpet player, but he's playing around with some like really like articulated rhythmic stuff here, because that fits in the style. But then every once in a while, I mean fairly often, like he's just hitting on some big fat like trumpets, with trumpet tones. Like I think he went down to that E flat, or what, a concert E flat, and kind of sat on that, gave it a little vibrato, and kind of pulled the rhythm off of it a little bit. Which is a really fun thing to do, because it never has to be one thing. Oh, there, yeah.
Phrases
pentatonic,
man. The phrases, he's starting to tighten up the phrases.
Yep. Okay, big shout out to that Gerald Clayton, what he played there. Some perfect comping on those octaves, E flat octaves right here. Because there's not a lot of space. That was good. That's A player stuff right there.
Totally.
Because I mean, you're already hearing, as you said, he's lengthening out the phrases, less space in between, and so rhythmically the way things are going, either the drums or the piano or both, like the bass is getting a little kind of busy in there, but he can do that on those lower frequencies. You got to sort of pick your moments to get that same level of interaction that you had at the beginning.
You start interacting less with, I think, the soloist, even though you still are hearing that, and you're interacting with the form. He's marking the top of that form right there, the top of going back to, a phrase.
Exactly.
And that's an important bit of this as
and
well.
look, if he hadn't played that, it still would have been great. But so cool that you get that in there. Now, another thing I'm starting to notice here, we always talk about sort of taking what the tune gives you when you're setting up a solo, kind of advanced, improvisation. This tune being basically one harmonic area, A flat major, just kind of, moving through this sort of turnaround with that brief little 6 kind of F, like almost sounds like a F13 flat 9 kind of thing. But basically it's all within that diatonic thing. So what Roy, I think, is doing in setting up the solo is he's using all the other elements except for harmony, rhythm. In terms of how he develops the melody and how he develops the theme of the solo. And then it doesn't mean you can't use harmony. And what happens is like lesser players sometimes will be like, oh, there's no harmonic, there's no changes there, so I can't do anything cool harmonically, so I can only use rhythm and melody. But what it is you can actually be very dramatic once you shift off. And the few times he shifts off of that diatonic harmony, it's like really connected with the melody. I mean, the melody and the rhythm, but in a really cool and dramatic way that you don't have to even over enunciate, because the tune is sitting in that area. So anytime you leave it, it's already gonna have the drama built in.
That's right.
So let's make note if we can remember of some of those places. Okay, so there, 3 phrases the same. He played them twice, exactly the same, and then he kind of shifted it over rhythmically. A lot of confidence in being able to play something when you know you're playing right in the groove. Repeat it, especially over a tune like this.
Totally.
Yeah. Played it again. Extended it.
Changes.
Yep. He always takes advantage of that 6th chord.
How important is that moment?
Yeah. So that, I think, really comes out of that. That's Louis Armstrong in a way. You know, like when you rhythmically, when you're playing so precise and like in the groove, and then you just relax and play some very trumpety kind of clarion call on top of everything, where you're taking this phrase and you're just like laying it all out there.
Well, I think masters of any instrument understand the strengths of their instrument,
yes.
You know, and how to use them. I get so annoyed when like a saxophone player won't ever play anything pretty ever. And I'm like, come on, man, I can't do that.
It's like a cello, you know?
Yeah, it's like, why would you not want to be able to at least have that in your bag to pull out every so often? And I think Roy totally understands and appreciates that here. And he's like, you know what I can do that no one else can do? This big, fat, you know, C or whatever that was, and just
float
lean
on top.
into it.
Yeah,
and, you know,
yeah.
put some vibrato at the end of the phrase and come down very pretty. I mean,
he's even like lifting his trumpet up a little bit there. And
totally.
No, I mean, it's like such a great phrase. If we played that on piano, it would sound aight, but it's not going to be the stuff he's playing before. I mean, that's like piano stuff.
Totally.
You know?
And we can casino lick it all day.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, don't make us go to the casino, baby. We'll do it. We will do it.
That's great.
Bebop, which is really, that was Roy's, like, you know. But so I think, you know, he was such a master bebop player, but it would be great for, you know, horn players, pianists, anybody to check out the way he plays these lines, because he doesn't, when he goes into the bebop, it's more of like a harmonic and melodic thing. He doesn't change the rhythmic approach to what he's playing before. So, because that can sound corny if you do that. If you're like, like he's right in the groove with the bebop flavor, so it doesn't sound out of place.
Yeah, he understands how bebop fits into this particular groove.
Yeah.
And that's great.
I don't think Tez would let him do that anyway, the way he looks right now.
Tez is now popping that snare drum.
Exactly.
Man.
So at that moment, because, you know, there's such a short cycle on the choruses to this, and obviously it's building up. Like we already got that from the piano solo, and this is a trumpet solo, so you know it's going to build up. And Roy's done such a great job of already starting to build out. This was kind of a cool thing. He kind of brought it down just a little bit here. It's whoa, we're not there yet.
Yeah, give me a little more time.
Yeah, and it gives it a nice flow to the architecture.
I know exactly what he's doing here.
Yeah.
This is a cue to the drummer.
Yeah.
Hey, get in there with me.
Right.
You know?
And open it. And I guess Tez heard it.
Yeah, go back, just those 8 bars there where he starts getting into that one note thing. He is cueing Tez to like get in there rhythmically.
He plays the whole chorus on F, I think. Oh, is it after this?
It's after this. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's the. All right, trumpet players, go learn that line right now. Come on, man. Get it together.
For our sake.
And this one, too. You get a lot of trumpet history right there. Blues. He hints at the next chorus.
It's going to come.
He just hinted at it with that F.
He's like, let's build it here.
And he brings it down a little bit, right?
But you can see Maness starts to interact with that note.
Yeah.
And now it's all out.
Woo!
high F. That dude is only kind of into it.
I know.
It's very French.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And I love this. I mean, I hate to even stop, but just like, I don't want to talk over any of this. It's so great. But even like at the apex here, a lot of trumpet players would feel like they have to play constantly, grab a breath, like he's still leaving space because of because of what's happening around him, and like he's totally in the moment. And if you look at him, he's got his eyes closed, and you think he's so aware of what's happening around him and fitting. Yeah, he's the soloist. Yeah, he's on top, but he's letting it come to him. There's a lot happening, so he's leaving that space.
This is a great lesson, I think, for younger players, for players who are maybe in the more immediate level. When you're playing with people, when you're building these things like this, that is a great lesson.
Yes.
You know, that's one that it took me a little bit to learn, you know, and to pull back. Not pull back, but you don't have to play everything all the time, even when it's big.
Yeah, even when you're at like
phrases.
even when you're at your best and your highest and the crowd's going crazy, it's very easy to be like, yeah, me. It's still the group.
Yep.
And you can still rely on and not only you should, you not only you can, you should.
Way more effective.
Yeah.
Way more effective.
I took it back a little bit because I like it. Okay, something cool is going to happen here, but this is kind of a Miles thing that it reminds me of, in that he's going for stuff that he can play, but is hard.
Yep.
You know, he's up at the register, he's played a whole bunch that night, and he's not really missing anything, but he's stretching. So the excitement level, as opposed to just playing exactly, and this can be for any instrument, it's like, go for some shit. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, he goes for a phrase, maybe just cacks a little, then does it again.
Yeah.
How much more thrilling is that than when he hits it? Now, I'm not talking about the time. Like, he is in there on the time.
Groove.
You know, and so that's what locks it in. But it's like, have that confidence. That's what this music is about. That's what the joy is about. Just like you're excited to talk to someone, you know, don't hold back and be careful about what you say. Let it all hang out,
Totally.
You know. I mean, it'd be easier to go down and play lower now, but... And you can see he's working. He's working. Oh, look at that. Ha! So... I mean, what a cool thing. Like, I think what happened there, they were like, oh, that's all he's got. And he was like, no, I can keep going. Come on. And I mean, I love, like, that tells you everything you need to know about Roy.
His reaction to Montez when Montez kind of like let up and then came back in.
I mean, he was like, no, come on. Yeah. But I mean, like, the joy and just the really reckless abandon which they're playing, but the control part of it is the skill level. Like, if you look at all that he plays, like, as he's starting to get to that really challenging trumpet stuff, and look, he's making it look easy to a certain degree. I mean, Roy was a small guy, so it's like you see the trumpet there, but I mean, what he just did from a trumpet standpoint, you get a classical trumpet player and you show them that, they're like, wow, that was a lot, you know.
It's a lot.
But he got very, like, he wasn't doing a whole bunch, like, he got very focused in terms of executing that stuff, you know, and the music meant to keep going more. And I think they were kind of like, oh, he's put so much, let's break it down. You know it's going to brand. He's like, no, I want to keep going. I want to keep going. The music wants to keep going.
Yeah, I think one of the things that strikes me about this solo, and that the fact that it's a live performance, really, it really showcases what's so great about this music. You know, and he really showcased what's so great about this music: the spontaneity, the energy, you know, the risk that you can take. You know, and I mean, this solo had it all, and he had that all the time. And so, man. And
I mean, that's the essence of this. I almost feel embarrassed that we were talking about chords or pentatonics, because that's what this is about.
Totally.
Yeah. But those things go into building that. But it's like, you know, he takes those things and crafts them in a way that I think should be inviting for all of us. Like, we can't all be Roy Hargrove. And if you're a trumpet player, this could be very intimidating, because in some ways this is like the perfect solo, like the perfect way to play, and like he checks a lot of boxes on that. But, you know, if you think about it from the listener standpoint, from the other musician standpoint, this is a very inviting, a very warm place that they're playing.
I was just going to say, you know, another striking thing about this that I think all of us jazz musicians could take note of is how fun this solo was.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's what it's about. That's why it has 3 million views.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And a big shout out. We're not even going to play it now because we're at the end of the solo, but to Justin Robinson for having to go up and play it. And he plays a very nice solo after this, but to have to come after that's not easy. I mean, to come after trumpet is always hard because that's the kind of the peak of the band. But
that's the gig.
That's the gig. Yeah. So yeah, man, we love you, Roy. We miss you, and thank you for this. And you know, I think it's important for us to remember when we lose someone that's an artist, we lose them. Yeah. But the beautiful thing is they've left behind this legacy. So let's celebrate that. I know everybody is. I mean, it's because everybody, you know, I mean, who wouldn't want to? But it's a great gift that and legacy that he left behind. You know, through his recorded legacy, through the musicians that work with him, his compositions, all those things. It's a gift.
Seriously, it is a gift. We're very, very lucky to have all this music that he made, and just, you know, very thankful for that. So, yeah. Until next time.
You'll hear it.